the Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. So, Twitter, if used properly, has created a platform for people to connect with others who have similar interests and opinions. But how crazy is that it can be a place where you can meet someone who basically has similar life experience and has the same name? Well, that's the case with my two guests today. This form of serendipity birthed the collaboration and creation of an amazing initiative called Visibility in STEM Africa. Today we chat to two ladies, Nathasia Muwanigwa and Nataša Lazarević, about creating a platform with a mission of giving visibility of Africans in STEM. We'll also chat about the exciting projects that they have planned, and we have a big announcement near the end, so do stay tuned. Hi ladies, and welcome to the show.
Hey.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
I'm so glad. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I'm very excited to hear about how you guys got this started and your story.
Yeah, of course. We're excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so before we get into the fascinating origin story about you guys, can you please just tell me individually about yourselves for the listeners out there?
Okay, so thank you. So I'm going to start, and so my name is Nathasia Muwanigwa, but for the purposes of this podcast, will refer to me as Tasha, since both me and my co-founder are called Nataša. So my name is Tasha, and I'm currently a PhD student in Luxembourg at the Luxembourg Center for Systems Biomedicine, where I work on Parkinson's disease research. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, but I've also lived in 4 other countries, namely Botswana, Cyprus, the Netherlands, and of course now Luxembourg. So yeah, that's just a few sentences on me in a nutshell, and I'll pass over to other Nataša.
Yes. Isn't she amazing, guys? Well, I am Nataša Lazarević, just to introduce myself. And again, my name is also Nataša. So yeah, we can call me Nata for the sake of the podcast. And yeah, I'm a PhD student in Sydney in the fields of digital health, machine learning, and anatomy. I also teach students anatomy and histology. And yeah, I mean, I lived in different countries as well. So I lived in Botswana, Serbia, Germany, United Arab Emirates, and now Australia. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Wow, that's so fascinating, ladies. So for the people who haven't got it, we've got Nataša from Zimbabwe, who we're going to go by Tasha, and then we've got the other Nataša, who we're going to call her Nata for the sake of the show. So the story goes that Nata was the one who reached out to you, Tasha. Please go back and just explain to us how this all started and how this great story started for the listeners.
Yeah, so I think me and Nata have quite a unique story. It's pretty random, but it's pretty amazing. So actually, just to put it out there, we actually haven't met in person in real life yet, which is pretty mind blowing.
Wow.
But yeah, so around mid last year, I'd say July or so, or June, I started having this idea to create some kind of something, but I didn't really know at the time what that something was. And regarding giving better visibility to Africans in STEM. And essentially this came about because I became quite active on academic Twitter. So Twitter has really become a cool resource for connecting with other academics, PhD students. But what I found is so many of the people I was coming across were in the US and in Europe a bit, in Asia, but I wasn't coming across so many Africans. So I started a thread at some point. I'm like, hey, I'm connecting with so many people. Where are my fellow Africans in STEM? And I got a lot of responses. And it seemed like people were like really excited to like get to know that there are other Africans in STEM. And so then from there, it kind of like birthed this thing where I'm like, it would be really cool if there was a platform to to engage other Africans who are in research, who are in science fields, because I don't really think that many of those kinds of platforms existed. So that was kind of something I started tweeting about more and more frequently. So I just became really active on Twitter, and I was posting a lot about, being an African in STEM, but also about myself. And I think that's how actually Nata came to find out about me. And I'll just hand over to her so she can explain how then we got to start working together.
Yeah, it was so funny. I just had started using Twitter, and I was like, trying to figure this out, because generally I wasn't really good at social media, to be honest. But I was really liking Twitter and the landscape. And then all of a sudden, my partner got Twitter as well, Damien. And he messages me, like, sharing this post. And the only thing he says in that message is, "This is you." And I'm like, huh? What does he mean by "this is you"? And I click this post, and it's a post posted by Tasha, basically describing her history, who she is. So basically that she grew up in Botswana. I grew up in Botswana. That she's 25 years old. I was 25 years old. That she lived in all these different countries. I lived in all these different countries. That she's doing a PhD. I'm doing a PhD too. And I was like, yo, what? And at that point, I had no idea that both of our names were Nataša, because both of our names are spelled so uniquely that I had no idea. So I'm like, okay, this woman in STEM, like, just seems so amazing. I'm going to slip into her DMs. So I literally slipped into her DMs, and I was like, hello, I'm Nataša. I also grew up in Botswana. I also this. And immediately we had some sort of connection. Like, I don't know how to describe it to you, but as if we were one person, and it's really strange. And we got along so well. And you know that thing when people say, yeah, but you know, sometimes when you're exactly the same person with like similar experiences, don't you have like conflicts because you have similar opinions, and sometimes it can get a lot? But no, with Tasha and I, it's just so natural. And we somehow complement each other so well in our skill sets, basically. So yeah, it's been such a pleasure to meet her via social media and like get to know her. And like Tasha said, we still have not met in person, yet we've probably chatted so much via like Skype or video call. So yeah, I'm pretty happy and lucky I got to, I guess, slip into her DMs at that point. And I think both Tasha and I are so thankful to Damien.
No, absolutely.
My partner.
Shout out Damien.
Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love the story. So now, like you said, after slipping into her DMs, right, and you guys connect and you instantly hit it off, right? And you both mentioned that this is very key, that you guys have never met. So then tell us how to getting this project started. How do you get to visibility in STEM started when, number one, you haven't met, number two, you live on the opposite ends of the globe? You know, what sort of challenges have you faced, if any, during this process?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think what's actually been pretty cool and pretty interesting is it's been a pretty smooth journey so far. Not to say that there haven't been challenges, but I think, you know, from the moment we had that initial interaction in the DMs, it was just like we just connected. You know, there was really a friendship that was built really quickly and a connection. So literally, I think I just mentioned to her very like in passing. It was like, so I have this idea. I want to create, you know, some platform to give visibility to Africans in STEM, because I think, you know, representation is important, etc., etc. And this was in August, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then what was so cool is, like, Nata is amazing. Like, she is just phenomenal, right?
Look who's talking.
No, honestly, because, you know, it was like, oh, no, that's a great idea. And then immediately she was like, I want to help, right? And I'm like, cool. And what was incredible was, you know, a lot of times people are like, oh, yeah, you're doing a cool thing. I want to help you. But they don't actually tell you how they can help you. But immediately Nata was like, okay, let me tell you how I can help. I can help with logo design, with website design, with curating, information. Like immediately in the first mention of this platform, she was already giving like, tangible things that she could bring to the table. And like for me immediately, I'm like, whoa, this is nuts because again, we've never met, and this person is just putting herself out there and just saying, okay, I can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I'm like, damn, because at the same time, the things that she was putting on the table are things that I don't really have that expertise. So in my mind, I'm like, this is like perfect. So it was like, okay, cool. Let's exchange contacts. Let's Skype. Let's sit down. And literally, it was us having Skype meetings and just talking and figuring out, okay, what's actually the name of the brand? Is it Visibility of STEM in Africa? Is it Visibility STEM Africa? We did like market research, like, okay, what other platforms exist? How are they doing this kind of work? Are there organizations that already try and provide visibility? How can we be better? Everything from the logo design, like we literally built everything from zero, like thinking of the logo. Okay, how do you do logo design? How do you make a website? What kind of content do we put there? Like literally it was just like meetings after meetings of me and her just putting ideas. And I think what's really been special is the amount of trust that we have in each other.
Yeah.
Because I have to be quite frank, I'm quite the perfectionist. I struggle sometimes with giving other people control, because you always feel like, will people execute things well enough, etc., etc. Not to say I'm the best to do everything, but it's always difficult finding someone you can fully trust, especially with something that you're so passionate about. But then with Nata, it's like, we'll discuss something and then she'll go and work on it and she'll come back and just produce something way better than I could have ever imagined. It's just like, damn, like I have so much trust in her. So it's really been, trying to maybe one of the challenges is like the time zone thing, but we make that work,
Yes.
Whether it's one of us is Skyping, early morning or late night, we've made that work considering, we have between 8 to 10 hours, depending on the season between us, but we've made that work. And literally to think that between August and January, we conceptualized the whole website. We figured out like kind of what we wanted to do, and we published the website on the 20th of January. So it was about 4 months of work. Trying to figure out, okay, we want to profile people. What are the questions you want to ask them? So it's been a lot of work, but again, it's been so seamless. It's been, I don't know. It's like I found like my soulmate in terms of like, just creating this. It's just, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
You put it so beautifully. And I guess the two of us are very interesting because we're scientists coming into this new space and we deal with everything with our science hat. So what Tasha was saying, we take our time trying to research, figure out what is out there. Are we filling a gap? That's like key research science research. And then also, like, for instance, when we were designing the logos, we each had a go at designing the logo. Then we sent the kind of options to our network, asking them, which one do you think is the best? And then taking a cumulative sum of like, how many people voted for this logo? And that's the logo we went with. And basically that's what we've been doing. And like Tasha said that I compliment her really well. Well, Tasha compliments me so well because she's so into writing, so into editing. Like if anyone is a grammar queen, it's Tasha. Versus, me, sometimes I'm still thinking, does this sentence make any sense? Tasha just comes through and just like, makes it very beautiful. And that's been so helpful when we were like talking about our strategy, our mission and aim statements. So yeah, it's just been brilliant working with her. And I guess one challenge that we faced is really, we're those type of people who want to just take any opportunity. So our biggest challenge at the moment is actually learning to say no. And that's something both Tasha and I identified, because we are PhD students, full-time PhD students, with all these other commitments, of course, in terms of our personal life. And we have to balance and prioritize. And, Tasha and I always want to help other people. But at the moment we want to prioritize visibility STEM Africa. So that's probably been our biggest challenge. What do you think, Tasha?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's the whole saying no to people. It's something that I'm still learning. I think we're both still learning it, but it's getting. Well, I don't think it ever gets easy, but you realize that it's at some point there are things you just have to do, especially when you're trying to build something that you can't say yes to everyone. You know, a lot of people want to help, and that's amazing, but sometimes, you know, you have to pick and choose what makes sense at that moment. So, yeah, so I think I agree totally with what Nata said. And also just one thing to also highlight here on how we execute it, I think it's important that we highlight that we also have a team. So we're not just working, just the two of us. So we kind of developed a team. And so one of our team members is a friend of mine. So we've been friends since undergrad. Her name is Prue, and she's based in the UK. She works in public health, and she basically is our opportunities curator. So I think I'll talk a little bit about exactly what Visa is doing in a bit, but you know, she helps us find information regarding opportunities that Africans in STEM can apply for. And then we actually have Anne as part of our team, which is super awesome. And interestingly, you slid in my DMs as well. So I don't know. I think
Yes.
Actually, I know this is your podcast, but maybe I can actually like reverse it for a second, then you can actually also let people know why you contacted us, because I think it's actually an interesting piece to the puzzle of the story.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I love how you guys switched it up on me. But yes, like Tasha mentioned, I slid into her DMs. Clearly, that's the one thing you guys have to do. The major common denominator here.
People just be sliding in the DMs.
Yeah. So after Tasha, like she explained, after Tasha put out that call and was trying to say that she's trying to connect Africans who are in the STEM field, I also recently just got onto Twitter at that point. I came back and then I was like, wow, I like what she's doing. So because, yeah, I'm not really afraid to say no to people. I mean, a no from people. I was like, hi, I'm Anne. I like what you're doing. I'd like to be involved in any way that you would like for me to be involved. And I didn't really, to be honest, I was like, I'm just putting it out there. Then you replied and we got together. We also haven't met officially face to face either. So yeah, then we got together and we talked via email. And then I think we found out that we have similar interests in terms of highlighting what Africans in STEM are doing, and just have an overall passion for science and getting people to see what other people are doing. So I also have to say now, because now you guys have turned this interview, it probably also helped birth the podcast series that I'm actually doing. So I just have to say thank you for the both of you for creating this platform. And but I'm going to take back my seat and put you guys back in the hot seat. And
just one thing.
Yeah.
Just one thing. We just want to tell, everyone listening in this space, Anne with an E is awesome, and we're really thankful that she slid into Tasha's DMs. Just to put that out there.
Absolutely.
Please take back the reins of this interview.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go back in our seats now.
Yeah, please sit down. Anyway, I think everybody who's listening now can tell that there's a great relationship not only between the team, but you guys as the founders, right? And there's an overall common denominator, and we all have the same mission and vision of creating this platform. But I want you guys to explain it in terms of when you guys were conceptualizing this idea from August, right? What is the aim of visibility in STEM in Africa? And apart from sliding into your DMs, how can people be a part of it?
Okay, so just to just before I answer this question, just to add that we have one team member I didn't mention yet, who just recently joined, actually as of a few days ago. We're super excited about it.
Yay!
We now have a chief financial officer, so his name is Eno Mwamba, and he's actually a childhood friend of Nata's, who I think maybe I'll hand over to you before I answer the question that Anne just asked, because I think you know him a little bit better. I could probably do justice to his background a little more before we go on to talking about visa.
Yes, I will happily do that. So you know that feeling when you have these close friends who you really care about, and then they finally meet. So that was like my experience when Tasha and Eno met. We were thinking for a while, like, you know, who we're missing on our team is someone with that finance background. And we're just thinking about it. A few of our mentors mentioned that would be useful. And the first person that popped into my mind was Eno. And as you can tell, like, even, you know, just between the three of us, we have this positive energy. We have this can-do energy. And he epitomizes that. He's always challenging himself. Like, ever since we were kids, like in school back in Bots. I'm sorry, for those that don't know Botswana, he's challenging himself, and like he just always wants to push the limits. So he was working, you know, in Barclays. He started his own company recently. He is studying all the time to further his career because he wants to do a master's in Harvard. He has all these connections worldwide and constantly creates all these events, and just meets so many people. He's that type of person that like just loves chatting, loves meeting all these different people. So we're really happy that he's part of the team. And it's just so nice to be working with someone from my childhood in this different context. And I'm sure, Tasha, you feel the same about Prue. And just that connection and just also what you were saying. And it's like also growing that community and team, just like, you know, you contacted Tasha. So yeah, anyway, I'll let Tasha continue to talk about the aims and how people can, I guess, be part of this, initiative.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so first of all, I just have to say I'm so grateful for the team in general. Like, all of you are just so incredible. And I'm just like, just to think that this was just a random thought in my head, like less than 6 months ago, is kind of wild to think.
It's amazing.
But on to the more practical side of what Visa is as a, I guess, initiative organization. So first I'm going to frame exactly why Visa needs to exist. So essentially, we have a huge need for more Africans to be in STEM fields. You know, we did some research to really evaluate the contributions of Africans to STEM and to global research. And although Africans make up about 16 to 17% of the global population, the global research output of the African continent is less than 1%, and that's really messed up. You know, that alone, I think, just highlights that there's this really big gap. And then further from that, like, I think anyone who is African, but also anyone who is aware of maybe the social, economic, and political landscape of Africa knows that there's still so many key issues that are affecting the continent, whether that's health related. I mean, right now we have COVID-19, which is, you know, a global issue, but we still have very high rates of HIV and AIDS. Think malaria, dengue, but also very poor women reproductive healthcare services. And beyond the health, we still have quite high rates of poverty and poorly developed infrastructure. And so all these issues are things that need to be addressed by people who are in the sciences, who are in tech, who are in engineering. We need Africans to actually take up these occupations so that we're able to invest back into our continent and improve on these different aspects. And I only touched on a few, but I know there's many, many more. I mean, agriculture, you name it, right? So that's kind of framing what the problem is, essentially. And so what our initiative wants to do is our vision is to create a more positive narrative surrounding African contributions to STEM fields on a global scale. And we have a mission to empower Africans to not only pursue, but also to flourish in STEM fields. And we want to do this by giving them better visibility and also creating opportunities and support their career journeys. And just like a quick overview in some of the activities that Visa is already involved in, but we'll also be getting more into as time goes on. So, you know, our brand is called Visibility STEM Africa. So we're all about representation. You know, representation matters way more than I think people realize. You know, it's so important to see people who look like you in all spaces. You hear that so much in like TV and stuff lately, you know, but it counts as well in science. You need people who you need to see neuroscientists and surgeons and whatever who look like you in order to be inspired to go for that. So through our website, through social media, through events, we want to provide more visibility for Africans who are in STEM fields. We also want to make it easier for Africans to find opportunities that can help them in their career development. So think things like scholarships, funding, mentorship, you know, conferences, these kinds of things. We want to create a database where people can much more easily find this information and it's actually applicable to them. Because so many times you're on the internet and you find the dopest, the greatest conference, and then it's like, yeah, just for people from the EU or something, you know, and it's quite frustrating. And then beyond that, we will establish mentorship programs. And also we've already started getting into some partnerships, both with local partners, so partners in Africa, but also global partners, because we see the value in creating collaborations not only within the continent, but also on a global scale. And then finally, and I think really cool, is we want to create a fund for scholarships, particularly to help Africans from underprivileged backgrounds who maybe are really bright but can't afford, you know, to go to university or can't afford to pay their tuition. So I think in a nutshell, those are some of the activities we're already working on or plan on working on in the coming months. And I don't know if there's anything I missed, but I think that's most of it.
I think you put it so beautifully, and you just described it really well. I think the only other thing I would add is just what we always talk about, that this organization isn't about us. No, it's not a platform to promote us. And I mean, absolutely. A part of a platform growing, of course, is having the people who are co-founding have large social media followers, so you can kind of retweet and share things and have a large following like yourself. But in reality, that's only a means to an end, and the end is to just give our, I guess, organization greater exposure and to be able to promote the visibility of Africans in STEM. So I think you put it beautifully, Tasha.
Thank you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of the first part of my interview with the VSA ladies, Nataša and Tasha. Stay tuned for more in part 2, because that's when the big announcement is coming.